Hi, everyone. I'm Diana Palm, and I am the medium helping you to heal the grief from heartbreak and loss. In today's episode of Reconnect, we're going to be talking about how to raise the frequency of grief. And I'm utilizing the emotional frequency chart that was created by Dr. David Hawkins in the book Power versus Force. If you haven't read that, I highly suggest you read it. It will go into more depth than what I can do in this video. But in his book, he talks about the frequency and vibration of each emotion that we carry. And with that, shame is the lowest possible vibration, being only 20. Now, think about this. Every virus we get, every sickness we get, every disease that we attract is based on frequency and vibration. When you're holding a very high frequency, you're simply not going to be a good host for lower frequency viruses, bacteria, and different kind of ailments. So the whole point of our life here is to raise our frequency, to be able to go through the trials and tribulations, drama and trauma that we go through, but to be able to navigate this world through owning our own frequency. In simpler terms, it would be your own thoughts and your feelings. These are things that we can learn to control better, that we can mature emotionally to sustain higher emotional frequencies, that we can process things, get the difficulties out of our system so that we don't stay at a low vibration as we continue through life after having experienced something difficult. And this is what basically the 7 stages of grief are based on. You can see clearly here that guilt is 30. Grief, the energy and vibration and frequency of grief is 75. Fear is 100. And in terms of loss, let's talk about we lose a loved one. We are immediately overcome with grief. This is natural and normal. So there's nothing that you need to worry about in terms of experiencing grief. This is a natural thing that you will experience. Many people then feel the onset of fear. What am I going to do without this person? How am I going to pay my bills? Where am I going to live? That's fear in terms of losing a loved one. So it's a little bit higher than regular grief. Fear is 100. And then many times we go into anger that resonates at 150. So fear is just a little bit stronger of an energy than fear. At least anger has some momentum behind it, where you're not feeling victimized and hopeless. Now you're angry and your energy is raising just a little bit, but it is coming up higher on the emotional frequency scale. So then we have courage. In terms of grief, courage would be when you start to make changes. You start to actually look at those bills. You start to look at your future plans moving forward. It takes courage to be able to create a new life path for yourself. So that's going to help boost your energy and vibration a little bit higher. You're going to go up to 200 on that. So 50 points higher in that frequency. Now, when you get to neutrality, that's a 250. That means you're not having as many highs and lows that you will in the initial stages of grief. You get up to acceptance, and this is also one of the stages of grief. Acceptance is when you accept what's happening. You're learning to accept the changes occurring in your life, and you're not trying to fight it. You're no longer in denial or anger. You're not stuck in those lower frequencies. You're in acceptance. So that's going to give you a 350. We have reason at 400. We have love at 500. Joy at 540. Peace is at 600. So we are continuing to escalate and elevate through the vibrations on this chart, through our emotions, that resonant frequency that the vibrations of emotions carry within us. So as we get here, that's why I always talk about grief to love. I'm talking about how to raise your frequency, how to get out of the energy of being stuck in grief. Because too many times I see people that experience the loss and they grieve like a normal, natural response would be, but they seem to get stuck there. And I work with people that have been stuck in grief for 10 years or 20 years, and they literally have not raised from 75 up to love, joy, and peace being on the highest end because they're still stuck on the energy of something missing, a person that's missing, not being able to get the courage to move forward. And so they're staying in those really, really low numbers. And this is why I see so many people getting sick when they don't process and heal their grief and know what they're shooting for. They don't even know what they're aiming for in the beginning stages of grief and loss. Of course, the highest one, the highest possible vibration is up here, enlightenment. Enlightenment is 700 plus. This is when you're spending most of your time in love, joy, and peace, and you've actually reached enlightenment. So in terms of grief, and in terms of how I would like you to think about it, enlightenment is no longer suffering in the energy of your loss. Enlightenment means that you know your loved one is still with you in the spirit world. You know that you were destined to have this experience in life with them, and you accept that their timing of death, their death door, helped you to move higher on the scale because it helped you process things. It helped you have courage. It helped you move forward and desire to be in an energy and vibration of love or higher. So that brings you into the frequency and vibration of where the spiritual world exists. And that's why when people reach enlightenment, they're feeling very connected to God. And if that is not, your word that you use for God, you can call it universe, source, the energy of creation. This is where everything has a divine timing, everything has a purpose, and you are able to connect with your loved one in the afterlife and know that they really are still with you. So the whole point of getting out of grief is not to push you out of experiencing it. I always say it's best to dive into it deeper so that you can thoroughly get it out of your body and out of your frequency and vibration. So the natural phases of grief will help you. If you know what you're aiming at, will help you to elevate higher and higher and higher, and allowing your loss to really be a gift, allowing your loss that you've experienced, your loved one dying, as a way to grow spiritually and to elevate in your emotional frequency and spiritual vibration. One of the things that I do in my spiritual grief healing program is when I'm working with people, I first help them get unstuck. I help them start to release the energy of grief that they carry in the body, because the energy of grief actually shows up to an intuitive person. We can see it all throughout your body. We can see it hovering in certain organs. We can see it like a gray mass, like a dark cloud. Although it's not outside of you, it's inside of you. So that's part of the first phase in my spiritual grief healing program, where I begin to release that energy and help you process it. I've also found with people, I've been doing this for 30 years. So when people have been holding on to grief for 10, 20 years, I find it's because they did not handle things spiritually. In other words, they did not elevate spiritually. They did not find a purpose in the loss. They're still angry at the loss. They haven't done the spiritual work. And I have it really clearly defined in my program, and I lead my clients through it so that they do understand the timing of death. They do understand the soul contracts. They do understand spiritually all the meanings of this experience that they're going through. There are so many things in terms of releasing soul fragments, cleansing and releasing spiritual ties, completing oaths and vows, recognizing the spiritual aspect of that connection and of what you're going through spiritually because of your loss. So when I help people process these things spiritually, it goes much deeper than emotionally. And it's quite beautiful because I get to see my clients coming to me with that gray, dark cloud and still suffering. And I get to see them literally climb up this vibrational scale and get back into joy and love and peace. Now, not everybody's shooting for enlightenment, although when you're resonating a lot in love, joy, and peace, you will begin to have a lot of afterlife visits. and you will have grown spiritually because of what you have gone through. So if you're a person that has been suffering with grief for a long time and you're still looking to your past about what's missing, what's not in your life, you may want to reflect upon that if you're stuck down here at 75. And what you can do on your own to elevate your vibrational frequency that will also always help increase your health and your finances, because the higher we get here on the scale, the better your health is, and the more you can manifest with ease, the more you can actually attract what it is you want. So instead of looking at the past for all that's missing and all that's lacking, you're looking forward, you're staying in the present, but looking forward at all that you can attract in and all the love that really is around you, and how much you can love yourself and nurture yourself through this experience. Now, getting up here, moving forward, accepting it, getting back into the vibration of love and finding joy in your life. Sometimes that's a natural process, but it really does require work. It does require you to know the direction you're going in, and that you need to be a little bit focused on that and determined to be able to pull yourself up out of that energy of grief. If you would like to work with me one-on-one in my program called RECONNECT, my #1 spiritual grief healing program, be sure you reach out to me, where I will work with you for 9 weeks to really move through these spiritual energies and help you do all the spiritual cleansing that you need to. I feel that the grief industry has almost become socially acceptable to stay in grief far too long. Now, while I do honor everybody's own timing, when you actually dive in and process it and heal your heart and move up that vibrational scale, and you get higher into the vibrations of love and joy and peace and enlightenment, there's no reason to carry the heavy energy of grief. It doesn't take away that you lost your loved one. It does help you to be able to connect with them in the afterlife and to know that that's real and that your life has a divine purpose and that it's very important that you're still here. It gives you a new, rejuvenated life path. So if you're interested in that, reach out to me at www.dianapalm.com. You can actually go to my website, read all about it. And if you're on your own processing this, keep this in mind, get the book, Power versus Force, or take a copy of the chart. You can find them. If you Google it online, you can find this very same chart. Put it on your refrigerator as a reminder for what you're aiming for every day. And if you just start focusing on these higher frequencies, that can actually help lift your grief as well. Okay, you guys, I hope you learned something from this video. Please let me know down in the comments if you did, if you found this was helpful. And also let me know where you think you're vibrating right now. Give me your number. Just check out the numbers right here and put it down in the comments. Thank you so much for being here. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.